Let's talk about the unit cards. As you play this game and buy boxes of mechs, you're going to acquire a lot of these, because every box of mechs comes with a bunch of unit cards. These do come pre-laminated. You don't have to put them in protective sleeves because they are laminated, so you can take a dry erase marker right to them. But I like to protect everything, so I put them in protective card sleeves, and then I just dry erase marker all over them with reckless abandon. Keeping them organized is a good idea. I keep mine organized in these. There's 4 sizes 1 through 4. 1's the smallest, 4's the biggest. Here I have SZ1. You can see all my size 1 cards. Behind it's size 2. And over here, of course, I have sizes 3 and 4. So that helps a lot. And what these cards are really useful for is picking out your force. You get a whole bunch of them, you flip through them, they help you brainstorm about what you want in your force. But it's not really necessary to have these to play the game because all of them can be downloaded for free on masterunitlist.info. Of course, you're going to download a black and white version because that's more printer friendly. We can take a look at one of those versions now. This is the unit card from masterunitlist.info. I'm going to explain everything on here, starting with the upper left-hand corner and working my way down left to right. First is the name, or model designation. Up next is PV. PV stands for point value. Different units have a different number associated with them to represent their value. The higher the number, the more valuable they are. This is useful for force balancing. How you would use this is you could say to your friend, hey, let's play a 150 PV game next week. And you and your friend would each pick out units that have a PV which sum to no more than 150. And then you're playing a 150 PV game. If you want to play a bigger game that lasts longer, use more PV. If you want to use a smaller game that doesn't last as long, use less PV. Up next, TP is the type of unit. This type is BM for battle mech, but there's many different types. We also have combat vehicles. Tanks are combat vehicles. SZ stands for size. All units are numbered 1 through 4, with 1 being the smallest and 4 being the biggest. TMM stands for target movement modifier. This is how hard the unit is to shoot as a target because it's moving. Generally, the faster a unit is, the harder it is to be shot at. So the higher that TMM is, the harder it is to be shot. MV stands for movement. This supernova has a movement of 6 inches J. The J means that it can also jump 6 inches. So this can either walk 6 inches or jump 6 inches. Not all mechs have the ability to jump, however. Roll is what the unit excels at, or what it was designed for. This unit was designed as a sniper, but there's other roles, such as brawlers or skirmishers. There are no rules associated with this. It's just a sort of for your information. You can play the unit however you want. Up next is skill. That's how good your pilot is at wiggling the joysticks and pressing the buttons. The higher that number, the less skilled your pilot. The lower the number, the more skilled your pilot. Down to the damage rectangle, we see S, M, and L. That stands for short, medium, and long range. The big number underneath, the 5s, represent how much damage is done at each range bracket. This mech does 5 damage at all the range brackets, but most mechs aren't like that. Most mechs will do more damage at short range and probably less damage at long range, but not always. The number in parentheses, the +0, +2, and +4, represent how much harder it is to shoot something at that range. So if you're within short range to your target, everything is +0 harder to hit. If you're within long range, everything is +4 harder to hit. OV. That stands for overheat. This unit can choose to overheat by 1, because it has an OV value of 1. Some units can overheat by more than that. Some units can't overheat at all, and those will say OV 0. The heat scale is to the right, and a mech can generate between 1 and 4 points of heat. Once the mech generates 4 points of heat, it shuts down, hence why the 4 is actually an S. But this unit doesn't have to overheat. The unit just chooses to if it wants to. So if you wanted to overheat, you could say, I'm overheating by 1, and then you would do 1 extra point of damage and incur some penalties. Moving down, we see the armor and structure bubbles. If this unit were to take, say, 4 points of damage, we would mark off 4 armor bubbles. The damage goes to the armor first, and once we destroy all the armor, we then start destroying the structure. The structure is what makes the mech work. It composes the skeleton and myome muscles, and the actuators and engine and guns and all that stuff. Every time we hit the internal structure, we have a chance to crit. That is, we have a chance to get a critical hit. And we roll on the determining critical hits table to see if we do so. If we get a crit, we destroyed something that makes the mech work, like the engine or something. And we can see this in the critical hits section of this unit card. That's where we mark off the critical hits that we acquired from the determining critical hits table. The last thing is the special section. Various units have different specials, which are abbreviated. This one has ENE, which stands for energy, meaning the mech only has energy weapons, so it can't have an ammo explosion. OVL stands for overheat long, meaning it can choose to overheat and do additional damage at the long range bracket. Standardly, mechs cannot do that. There's no way you're going to memorize all the specials in the game. There's just too many. What I do is I go to the PDF, I look up the specials beforehand, and I copy and paste them into a Word document and print that out. That way I have all the specials I need at the table in front of me, and I'm ready to play. So much for describing the unit card.